The ballroom glittered like a palace made of stars. Celestine stood near the grand windows, watching the dancers move across the marble floor. Her dress was simple compared to the others, pale blue silk that caught the candlelight. Her dark hair was pinned with small white flowers. She looked beautiful, but she did not feel it. She felt like an imposter. Everyone around her wore jewels that cost more than her father's bakery made in a year. Their laughter was light and careless. They belonged here. She did not. But she was here now, and that was all that mattered. Celestine took a breath and stepped closer to the crowd. Her heart beat fast in her chest. Her hands trembled slightly at her sides. She had waited her whole life for this moment, to stand in a room like this, to be seen. Not as the baker's daughter, not as the girl who worked in flour and sugar, but as someone important, someone worthy. Across the ballroom, a woman stood on a raised platform. She wore deep purple silk and diamonds that sparkled like ice. Her hair was silver grey, pinned high on her head. Her face was cold and sharp. She looked at the crowd like a queen surveying her kingdom. The Dowager Duchess of Ashford, Alistair's mother. Celestine's stomach twisted. She had heard stories about the Dowager Duchess. Everyone had. She was known for her cruel tongue and her iron will. She had destroyed reputations with a single word. She had ruined families with a single glance. And she hated anyone who did not belong. Celestine swallowed hard. She told herself not to look at the Dowager, not to draw attention. But it was too late. The Dowager's eyes locked onto hers. Celestine's breath caught in her throat. The older woman's gaze was sharp and cold. It cut through the distance between them like a blade. Celestine felt her skin prickle. She wanted to look away, to disappear into the crowd, but she forced herself to stand still. She would not run. Not tonight. The Dowager Duchess began to walk. Her steps were slow and deliberate. The crowd parted for her. People stepped back and bowed their heads. She moved like a predator stalking its prey. And Celestine was the prey. She felt her pulse quicken. Her mouth went dry. She wanted to turn and leave, to find the doors and escape, but her feet would not move. The Dowager stopped in front of her. Up close, the woman was even more intimidating. Her face was lined with age, but her eyes were sharp and cruel. She looked at Celestine like she was something disgusting, something unworthy of being in this room. "Who are you?" the Dowager asked. Her voice was cold and clipped. Celestine lifted her chin. She forced herself to speak clearly. "My name is Celestine." "Celestine who?" "Celestine Moore." The Dowager's lips curled into a sneer. "Moore. A common name. And you are dressed like a common girl. Why are you here?" Celestine's cheeks burned. She felt the eyes of the crowd turning toward them. Whispers began to spread through the ballroom like wildfire. "I was invited," Celestine said. Her voice was quiet but steady. "By whom?" Celestine hesitated. She could not answer that question. Not truthfully. The Dowager's eyes narrowed. "You lie. You snuck in here like a thief. You do not belong among your betters." The words stung like a slap. Celestine felt tears prick at her eyes, but she blinked them away. She would not cry, not in front of this woman. "I am not a thief," Celestine said. Her voice was stronger now. "Then prove it," the Dowager said. "Tell me who invited you." Celestine opened her mouth to answer, but before she could speak, the Dowager raised her hand and slapped her across the face. The sound echoed through the ballroom like a gunshot. Celestine stumbled back. Pain exploded across her cheek, her vision blurred. She raised her hand to her face and felt the sting of the blow. Her skin burned, her eyes filled with tears. The crowd gasped, but no one moved. No one helped her. Celestine stood there trembling. Her face throbbed, her heart pounded in her chest. She looked at the Dowager Duchess. The older woman's face was twisted with satisfaction. "That is what happens to girls who do not know their place," the dowager said. Her voice was loud and sharp. "You are nothing. You will always be nothing, and you have no right to stand in this room." Celestine felt something break inside her. Not just her pride, but something deeper, something fragile and precious. She had believed she could be more than what she was born to be. She had been wrong. She turned to leave. Her legs felt weak. Her vision was still blurred with tears. She just wanted to disappear, to go home and never think about this night again. But then someone shouted, "How dare you touch the Duchess!" The voice was loud and powerful. It rang through the ballroom like a bell. Celestine froze. So did everyone else. She turned around slowly. Her heart pounded in her ears. She could not understand what she had just heard. The Duchess. A man was walking toward them. He moved through the crowd like a storm. People scrambled to get out of his way. He was tall and broad-shouldered. His dark hair was slightly disheveled. His eyes were sharp and furious. Celestine recognized him immediately. Alistair Ashford, the Duke of Ashford, her husband. But she had never met him before tonight. 3 months earlier, Celestine stood in the small office of a lawyer she did not know. The room smelled like old paper and candle wax. The lawyer sat behind a desk covered in documents. He was a thin man with grey hair and tired eyes. "You understand what you are signing?" he asked. Celestine looked down at the papers in front of her. They were covered in words she did not fully understand, legal language that made her head spin. But she understood enough. She was signing a marriage contract to a man she had never met, a man who would never know her. "I understand," she said quietly. The lawyer nodded. He dipped a pen in ink and handed it to her. Celestine took it. Her hand shook slightly. She pressed the pen to the paper and signed her name. Celestine Moore, soon to be Celestine Ashford. The lawyer took the paper and set it aside. He pulled out another document. "This is your payment," he said. £5,000, as agreed. Celestine stared at the number. £5,000. It was more money than she had ever seen in her life. More money than her father's bakery would make in 10 years. It was enough to save them. Her father was dying. He had been sick for months. The doctors said there was a medicine that could help him, but it was expensive. Too expensive for a baker's family. Celestine had tried everything. She had begged. She had borrowed. She had worked until her hands bled. But it was not enough. Then the lawyer had come to her. He had offered her a solution. A marriage contract. The Duke of Ashford needed a wife, for reasons the lawyer would not explain. But he did not want a real marriage. He wanted a wife in name only. Someone who would sign the papers and take the money and disappear. Someone like Celestine. She did not ask why. She did not care. All she cared about was saving her father. So she signed. The lawyer counted out the money and placed it in a small leather bag. He handed it to Celestine. "You will never contact the Duke," he said. "You will never tell anyone about this marriage. You will live your life as if this never happened." Celestine nodded. "I understand." "Good. The Duke will do the same. He will never contact you. He will never acknowledge you. As far as the world is concerned, this marriage does not exist." Celestine took the bag of money. It felt heavy in her hands. She stood and walked to the door. "Miss Moore," the lawyer called. She turned back. "Do not break this agreement," he said. His voice was cold. "The Duke is a powerful man. If you betray him, he will destroy you." Celestine felt a chill run down her spine, but she nodded. "I will not." She left the office and never looked back. She used the money to buy the medicine. Her father began to recover. Slowly, his strength returned. The color came back to his face. He began to smile again. Celestine told him the money came from a loan. He believed her. She never told him about the marriage. She never told anyone. For 3 months, she lived her life as if nothing had changed. She worked in the bakery. She cared for her father. She went to bed each night and tried not to think about the strange, secret marriage that hung over her like a shadow. But then the invitation came. A letter addressed to Lady Celestine Ashford, Duchess of Ashford. She stared at it in shock. Her heart pounded. Her hands shook. It was an invitation to a ball at the Duke's estate. She did not understand. The lawyer had said she would never be contacted, that the marriage would remain a secret. But here was the proof, in writing. She was the Duchess. Celestine read the letter again and again. She looked for some kind of explanation, but there was none, just the invitation. She should have thrown it away. She should have ignored it. But she could not. Because for 3 months she had wondered. Who was the man she had married? Why had he needed a secret wife? And what would happen if she ever met him? So she decided to go to the ball. She borrowed a dress from a friend. She pinned flowers in her hair. She walked to the Duke's estate and slipped inside with the other guests. No one questioned her. No one stopped her. And now she was here, standing in the ballroom, being slapped by the Duke's mother, being called a liar and a thief. And then, "How dare you touch the Duchess?" Alistair Ashford stood in front of his mother. His face was hard and furious. His eyes blazed with anger. He looked at the Dowager Duchess like she was a stranger. "What did you say?" the Dowager asked. Her voice was sharp, but there was something else in it now. Something uncertain. "I said," Alistair repeated slowly, "how dare you touch the Duchess?" The crowd gasped again. Whispers exploded through the ballroom. People looked at Celestine with wide eyes, then at Alistair, then back at Celestine. The Duchess? The baker's daughter? It was impossible. But Alistair was standing there, looking at Celestine, and there was something in his eyes that Celestine could not name. The Dowager Duchess stared at her son. Her face had gone pale. "What are you talking about?" she demanded. "This woman is my wife," Alistair said. His voice was calm now, cold. "She is the Duchess of Ashford, and you just struck her in front of an entire ballroom." The Dowager's mouth opened, then closed. She looked at Celestine, then at Alistair. "That is impossible," she said. "You are not married. I would know." "You would know if I had told you," Alistair interrupted. "But I did not, because it was none of your concern." The Dowager's face twisted with rage. "You married this common girl, without telling me?" "Yes." "Why?" Alistair did not answer. He turned to Celestine. His eyes softened slightly. "Are you hurt?" he asked. Celestine could not speak. She could only stare at him. Her mind was spinning. Her heart was racing. He knew. He knew who she was. But how? Alistair reached out and gently touched her cheek. His fingers were warm against her burning skin. "You are hurt," he said quietly. There was anger in his voice, but also something else, something that sounded like guilt. "I am fine," Celestine whispered. "You are not fine," Alistair said. He turned back to his mother. His eyes were cold again. "You will apologize." The Dowager Duchess laughed. It was a harsh, bitter sound. "I will do no such thing. You have made a fool of yourself, Alistair, marrying a nobody, keeping it a secret, and now you expect me to bow to her?" "I expect you to treat her with the respect she deserves," Alistair said. "She is my wife. She is the Duchess of Ashford, and you will apologize for what you have done." The Dowager's face flushed red. "Never!" Alistair's jaw tightened. He looked at the crowd. "Everyone here is a witness," he said. His voice was loud and clear. "My mother has struck the Duchess of Ashford. She has insulted her. She has humiliated her in front of all of you." The crowd murmured. People looked uncomfortable. They did not know where to look, who to support. "From this moment forward," Alistair continued, "my mother is no longer welcome in my home. She is no longer welcome on my lands, and anyone who supports her will be treated the same." The crowd fell silent. The Dowager Duchess stared at her son. Her face was white now. Her hands trembled at her sides. "You would choose her over me?" she asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Yes," Alistair said simply. The Dowager looked at Celestine. There was hatred in her eyes, pure, cold hatred. Then she turned and walked away. Her steps were stiff and proud, but Celestine could see the shame in the way she held her head. The crowd parted for her. No one spoke, no one moved, and then she was gone. Alistair turned back to Celestine. He took her hand. "Come with me," he said gently. Celestine nodded. She could not find her voice. She let him lead her out of the ballroom, away from the crowd, away from the whispers and the stares. They walked through long, empty hallways, past portraits and tapestries, past windows that looked out onto dark gardens. Celestine's mind was spinning. She had so many questions, but she could not form the words. Finally, Alistair stopped in front of a heavy wooden door. He opened it and led her inside. It was a library. The walls were lined with books from floor to ceiling. A fire burned in the fireplace. The room smelled like smoke and leather and old paper. Alistair closed the door behind them. He turned to Celestine. "Sit," he said gently. He gestured to a chair near the fire. Celestine sat. Her legs felt weak. Her hands were still trembling. Alistair poured a glass of water from a pitcher on a side table. He handed it to her. "Drink," he said. Celestine took the glass. She drank slowly. The water was cool and soothing. It helped calm her racing heart. Alistair sat down in the chair across from her. He leaned forward and rested his elbows on his knees. He looked at her with those sharp, dark eyes. "I owe you an explanation," he said. Celestine nodded. She set the glass down on the table beside her. "Yes," she said quietly. "You do." Alistair took a breath. He looked into the fire. 3 months ago, I needed to get married," he said, quickly, quietly, without anyone knowing. "Why?" Celestine asked. Alistair's jaw tightened. "My uncle," he said. "He wanted to take my title, my lands, everything. There was a clause in my father's will. If I did not marry before my 30th birthday, the title would pass to him." Celestine's eyes widened. "When is your birthday?" "It was 3 months ago," Alistair said. "The day we were married." Celestine felt her breath catch. "So you needed a wife? Any wife?" "Yes," Alistair said. He looked at her now. "I did not have time to court someone, to go through the process of a proper marriage. I needed a solution. Fast." "So you paid me," Celestine said. Her voice was flat. Alistair flinched. "Yes." Celestine looked down at her hands. She felt something twist in her chest. "And you plan to keep me a secret forever?" "Yes," Alistair said quietly. "Then why did you send the invitation?" Celestine asked. She looked up at him. "Why did you invite me here tonight?" Alistair's face changed. Something flickered in his eyes. Something that looked like regret. "I did not send the invitation," he said. Celestine frowned. "What?" "I did not send it," Alistair repeated. "I do not know who did." Celestine stared at him. "But—" "Someone wanted you here," Alistair said. "Someone wanted this to happen. I do not know who, or why. But when I saw you in the ballroom, I knew something was wrong." Celestine's mind raced. Someone had sent her the invitation. Someone had wanted her to come here, to be exposed. But who? And why? "But you claimed me," Celestine said. "You told everyone I was your wife. Why?" Alistair looked at her. His eyes were serious. "Because you are my wife," he said, "and no one has the right to treat you the way my mother did. Not even her." Celestine felt her throat tighten. She did not know what to say. She had expected anger, or denial, or maybe even indifference. But not this. Not protection. "You did not have to do that," she said quietly. "Yes, I did," Alistair said. They sat in silence for a moment. The fire crackled. The room felt warm and safe. Celestine looked at the man sitting across from her. Her husband. A stranger, but not entirely a stranger. "What happens now?" she asked. Alistair leaned back in his chair. He ran a hand through his hair. "Now everyone knows," he said. "There is no going back. You are the Duchess of Ashford, whether we like it or not." Celestine swallowed hard. "I never wanted this." "I know," Alistair said. "Neither did I." But something in his voice made Celestine look at him more closely, and she saw something in his eyes that surprised her. He did not look angry. He looked relieved. The next morning, Celestine woke in a room she did not recognize. The bed was huge and soft. The sheets smelled like lavender. Sunlight poured through tall windows. She sat up slowly. Her head ached. Her cheek was still sore from the slap. She touched it gently and winced. There was a knock at the door. "Come in," Celestine said. A maid entered. She was young, with red hair and freckles. She smiled shyly at Celestine. "Good morning, Your Grace," she said. Celestine blinked. Your Grace. It sounded strange. Wrong. "Good morning," Celestine said. The maid set a tray on the table beside the bed. It was covered with food: bread and butter and jam, eggs and bacon, fresh fruit, tea that smelled like flowers. "The Duke asked me to bring you breakfast," the maid said. "He said to tell you he will be in the East Garden when you are ready." Celestine nodded. "Thank you." The maid curtsied and left. Celestine looked at the food. Her stomach growled. She had not eaten since yesterday afternoon. She picked up a piece of bread and spread butter on it. It was delicious. She ate slowly. She tried to make sense of everything that had happened. She was the Duchess. Everyone knew. And Alistair had claimed her in front of the entire ballroom. She did not understand him. He had paid her to be a secret wife, a wife who would disappear. But now he was protecting her, defending her. Why? After she finished eating, Celestine washed and dressed. The maid had left a clean dress for her. It was simple but beautiful. Soft green cotton with white lace at the sleeves. Celestine put it on. She brushed her hair and pinned it back. She looked at herself in the mirror. She looked like a duchess, but she did not feel like one. She left the room and found her way to the East Garden. It was not hard. The servants pointed the way when she asked. The garden was beautiful. Roses bloomed in every color. The air smelled sweet. A fountain bubbled in the center. Stone paths wound through the flowers. Alistair stood near the fountain. He wore a simple white shirt and dark trousers. His sleeves were rolled up to his elbows. He looked more relaxed than he had last night. He turned when he heard her footsteps. "Good morning," he said. "Good morning," Celestine replied. They stood there for a moment. Neither of them seemed to know what to say. Finally, Alistair gestured to a bench beneath a rose arbor. "Will you sit with me?" he asked. Celestine nodded. They walked to the bench and sat down. The roses smelled wonderful. The sun was warm on Celestine's skin. "How is your cheek?" Alistair asked. Celestine touched it gently. "Sore, but I will be fine." Alistair's jaw tightened. "I am sorry," he said, "for what my mother did. For everything." "It was not your fault," Celestine said. It was, Alistair said. I should have told her about you. I should have prepared you for what might happen, but I did not, and you suffered because of it. Celestine looked at him. There was genuine regret in his eyes. Why did you not tell her? She asked. Alistair sighed. He looked out at the garden. My mother is difficult, he said. She has always wanted to control everything. My life, my choices. When my father died, she tried to control the estate, the title, everything. And you let her? Celestine asked. For a while, Alistair admitted. It was easier than fighting. But then my uncle began his challenge, and I realized I had to take control. I had to make my own choices. So you chose to marry me, Celestine said. Yes, Alistair said. He turned to look at her. But it was not just about the title. I wanted a marriage that was mine, not something my mother arranged, not some grand alliance to increase our power. I wanted something simple. Celestine raised an eyebrow. You call a secret marriage simple? Alistair smiled slightly. It was the first time Celestine had seen him smile. It changed his whole face, made him look younger, almost kind. Perhaps simple is the wrong word, he said. But it was mine, my choice. And that mattered. Celestine looked down at her hands. She understood that. The need to make your own choices, to control your own life. What happens now? She asked again. Alistair was quiet for a moment. That depends on you, he said. Celestine looked at him in surprise. On me? Yes, Alistair said. You did not sign up for this, for being the Duchess, for dealing with my mother and the gossip and all of it. If you want to leave, I will understand. I will give you more money, enough to live comfortably for the rest of your life, and I will make sure no one bothers you. Celestine stared at him. He was offering her a way out, an escape. She should take it. She should run as far away from this place as possible. But something stopped her. What do you want? She asked. Alistair blinked. What? What do you want? Celestine repeated. Do you want me to leave? Alistair looked at her. His eyes were serious. No, he said quietly. I do not want you to leave. Celestine's heart skipped a beat. Why not? Alistair hesitated. He looked like he was struggling to find the words. Because, he said slowly, I think we could help each other. Help each other how? You need a home, Alistair said, a place where you belong. And I need someone who is not afraid of my mother, someone who is not trying to use me for power or money or status. You do not know me, Celestine said. How do you know I'm not trying to use you? Alistair smiled again. Because you tried to leave last night, he said. After my mother slapped you. You did not demand justice. You did not make a scene. You just tried to leave. That tells me everything I need to know. Celestine felt her cheeks grow warm. She looked away. Stay, Alistair said. His voice was soft, almost pleading. At least for a while. Give this a chance. If you hate it, you can leave. I promise. Celestine looked at him. She searched his face for any sign of deception, but all she saw was honesty. And something else. Loneliness. He was lonely, just like her. All right, Celestine said quietly. I will stay. Alistair's face lit up. He looked so relieved that Celestine almost laughed. Thank you, he said. They sat together in the garden for a long time. They talked about small things, the flowers, the weather. Celestine told him about the bakery, about her father. Alistair told her about the estate, about his childhood. It felt strange, talking to her husband like he was a friend. But it also felt right. The weeks that followed were both wonderful and terrible. Wonderful because Celestine was beginning to feel at home in the Duke's estate. The servants were kind to her, The gardens were beautiful, and Alistair was surprising. He was nothing like she had expected. He was quiet, thoughtful. He read books in the library for hours. He walked the estate every morning and checked on the tenants. He was kind to the servants. He listened when Celestine spoke. He made her feel seen. And that was dangerous, because Celestine was starting to feel things she should not feel. Things like affection, things like desire, things like love. But the weeks were also terrible because of the gossip. Everyone was talking about the Duke's secret wife, the baker's daughter who had somehow become a duchess. Some people were curious, some were cruel, and some were outright hostile. The Dowager Duchess had not been idle. She had spread rumors. She had told everyone that Celestine was a fraud, a gold digger, a manipulative little nobody who had tricked her son, and some people believed her. Celestine received letters, anonymous letters filled with insults and threats. She was called terrible names. She was told she should die. She tried to ignore them. She tried to stay strong. But it was hard. One night, Celestine sat in the library. She was reading a book, but she could not focus. Her mind kept drifting back to the letters, to the hateful words. Alistair walked in. He saw her sitting there, staring at the pages without really seeing them. "What is wrong?" he asked. Celestine looked up. She forced a smile. "Nothing." Alistair frowned. He walked over and sat down beside her. "You are a terrible liar," he said gently. Celestine's smile faded. She looked down at her hands. "It is nothing," she said again. "Celestine," Alistair said. His voice was soft but firm. "Tell me." Celestine hesitated. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out one of the letters. She handed it to him. Alistair unfolded it. His face darkened as he read. His jaw clenched. His eyes blazed with anger. "How many of these have you received?" he asked. "A dozen," Celestine said quietly. "Maybe more." Alistair crumpled the letter in his fist. "Why did you not tell me?" "Because I did not want to bother you," Celestine said. "I thought I could handle it." "This is not something you should have to handle alone," Alistair said. He stood and began pacing. "I will find out who is sending these. I will make sure they are punished." "It does not matter," Celestine said. Alistair stopped pacing. He turned to look at her. "What do you mean it does not matter?" "They are right," Celestine said. Her voice was flat, empty. "I do not belong here. I am not a real duchess. I am just a baker's daughter who signed a piece of paper." Alistair walked back to her. He knelt down in front of her. He took her hands in his. "That is not true," he said. His voice was fierce. "You are the Duchess of Ashford. You are my wife, and you belong here just as much as anyone else." Celestine looked at him. Tears filled her eyes. "But I do not know how to be a duchess," she whispered. "I do not know how to act, how to talk, how to be what they expect." "Then do not be what they expect," Alistair said. "Be yourself. That is enough." "Is it?" Celestine asked. "Is it enough for you?" Alistair's eyes softened. He reached up and gently touched her cheek. "It is more than enough," he said quietly. Celestine's breath caught. She looked into his eyes, and she saw something there that made her heart race. He meant it. He really meant it. Before she could stop herself, Celestine leaned forward. She closed the distance between them, and she kissed him. It was a soft kiss, gentle, tentative, but it felt like the world was shifting beneath her feet. Alistair froze for a moment. Then he kissed her back. His hand moved to the back of her neck. He pulled her closer. The kiss deepened. It became something urgent, something desperate. Celestine felt like she was drowning, but in the best possible way. When they finally pulled apart, they were both breathing hard. Alistair rested his forehead against hers. "Celestine," he whispered. "I am sorry," Celestine said. "I should not have—" "Do not apologize," Alistair said. He pulled back just enough to look at her. "Do not ever apologize for that." Celestine looked at him. Her heart pounded in her chest. "What are we doing?" she asked. "I do not know," Alistair admitted, "but I do not want to stop." Celestine smiled. It was a real smile this time. "Neither do I." They stayed in the library for hours that night, talking, kissing, learning each other. And for the first time since she had signed the marriage contract, Celestine felt like maybe, just maybe, this could be real. But someone was watching. Hidden in the shadows of the estate, a figure moved silently through the halls. They had seen Alistair and Celestine in the library. They had seen the kiss, the intimacy, and they were not happy. The figure returned to their room and sat down at a desk. They pulled out a piece of parchment and began to write. "The baker's daughter thinks she has won, but she has no idea what is coming. She will regret the day she ever set foot in this house." The figure sealed the letter and sent it off, and in the darkness, they smiled. The next morning, Celestine woke to the sound of shouting. She sat up in bed, her heart racing. The shouting was coming from downstairs. It sounded like Alistair. She quickly dressed and ran down the stairs. Alistair was in the entrance hall. He was standing in front of a man Celestine did not recognize. The man was tall and thin, with sharp features and cold eyes. "You have no right to be here," Alistair was saying. His voice was hard, angry. "I have every right," the man said. He smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "I am family, after all." Celestine stepped forward. "Who is this?" she asked. Alistair turned to her. His face was tense. "This is my uncle," he said. "Lord Edmund Ashford." Celestine felt her stomach drop. This was the man who had tried to take Alistair's title. The man who had forced Alistair to marry in secret. Edmund turned to look at her. His eyes swept over her with disdain. "So this is the famous Duchess," he said. "The baker's daughter. How quaint." "Watch your tongue," Alistair warned. Edmund ignored him. He stepped closer to Celestine. "Tell me, my dear," he said. "How much did my nephew pay you to marry him?" Celestine's cheeks burned, but she lifted her chin. "That is none of your concern," she said. Edmund laughed. "Oh, but it is," he said. "You see, I have been doing some investigating, and I have discovered something very interesting." Alistair tensed. "What are you talking about?" Edmund pulled a document from his coat. He held it up. "This is the marriage contract," he said. "The one you signed 3 months ago. And do you know what I found?" "Get to the point," Alistair said. "The contract is invalid," Edmund said. His smile widened. "You forgot to file it with the proper authorities, which means legally you are not married. Which means legally you missed the deadline in your father's will." Celestine's heart stopped. Alistair stared at his uncle. His face had gone pale. "That is not true," he said. "I had my lawyer file the papers." "Did you?" Edmund asked. "Or did you simply trust him to do it? Because I have checked. There is no record of your marriage. None at all." Alistair looked like he had been struck. He turned to Celestine. There was panic in his eyes. "It does not matter," Celestine said quickly. "We can file the papers now. We can fix this." Edmund laughed again. "It is too late for that," he said. "The deadline has passed. The title is mine." "No," Alistair said. His voice was low and dangerous. "I will not let you take everything my father built." "You do not have a choice," Edmund said. "The law is on my side, and unless you can produce proof of a valid marriage, you have lost." Celestine felt tears prick at her eyes. This could not be happening. Not now, not after everything. But then she remembered something. Wait, she said. Both men turned to look at her. There is proof, Celestine said. The letter. Alistair frowned. What letter? The invitation, Celestine said. The one I received. It was addressed to Lady Celestine Ashford, Duchess of Ashford. Someone knew about the marriage. Someone sent that letter. Alistair's eyes widened. You still have it? Yes, Celestine said. It is in my room. Get it, Alistair said. Now. Celestine ran up the stairs. Her heart pounded in her chest. She burst into a room and searched through her things. Finally, she found the letter. She grabbed it and ran back downstairs. She handed it to Alistair. He read it quickly. Then he handed it to Edmund. Edmund's smile faded as he read. This proves nothing, he said, but his voice was uncertain. It proves someone knew about the marriage, Alistair said. Someone sent this invitation. Someone acknowledged Celestine as my wife, and I intend to find out who. Edmund's face darkened. This is not over, he said. You are right, Alistair said. It is not, but you will not win. I promise you that. Edmund turned and walked out of the house. He slammed the door behind him. Celestine let out a breath she did not know she had been holding. She looked at Alistair. What do we do now? She asked. We find out who sent that letter, Alistair said, because they are the key to proving our marriage is real. The investigation took days. Alistair questioned the servants. He spoke to his lawyer. He sent letters to everyone who had been at the ball. But no one knew who had sent the invitation. Celestine felt helpless. She wanted to do something, to help, but she did not know how. Then she had an idea. She went to the library and began searching through Alistair's papers. She looked for anything that might be connected to the invitation. And then she found it. A letter, hidden at the bottom of a drawer. It was addressed to Alistair, but it was not in his handwriting. Celestine opened it and read, Dear Alistair, I know what you have done. I know about the secret marriage, and I know you are trying to keep it hidden, but secrets have a way of coming to light. If you want to protect your wife, you will do exactly as I say. I will send her an invitation to the ball. She will come, and when she does, the truth will be revealed. Do not try to stop this. It is already in motion. A friend. Celestine's hands trembled. Someone had planned this. Someone had wanted her to come to the ball, wanted her to be exposed. But who? She ran to find Alistair. She found him in his study. He was sitting at his desk, staring at a stack of papers. Alistair, Celestine said breathlessly, I found something. She handed him the letter. He read it. His face grew darker with every word. This was in your desk, Celestine said. Hidden. Someone sent it to you before the ball. Alistair looked up at her. I never saw this, he said. Someone must have put it there, after the fact. But who? Celestine asked. Alistair stood. He began pacing. Someone who wanted to expose the marriage, he said. Someone who wanted to cause trouble. Your mother? Celestine suggested. Alistair shook his head. She did not know about the marriage until the ball, and she would not have wanted it exposed. She would have wanted it hidden forever. Then who? Celestine asked. Alistair stopped pacing. He looked at Celestine. My uncle, he said quietly. Celestine's eyes widened. You think Edmund sent the letter? It makes sense, Alistair said. He wanted to prove the marriage was invalid. What better way than to expose it publicly? To show everyone that it was a sham. But how did he know about it? Celestine asked. Alistair's jaw clenched. My lawyer, he said. Edmund must have paid him off, convinced him not to file the papers, and to tell Edmund everything. Celestine felt a chill run down her spine. What do we do? We confront him, Alistair said. We get proof, and we destroy him. They found the lawyer in his office. He looked nervous when they walked in. Your Grace, he said. He stood and bowed. "What can I do for you?" "You can tell me the truth," Alistair said. His voice was cold. "Did you file the marriage papers?" The lawyer's face went pale. "Of course I did," he said, but his voice wavered. "Liar," Alistair said. He stepped forward. "My uncle paid you, did he not? He paid you to keep the marriage secret, to not file the papers." The lawyer looked like he might faint. I do not know what you are talking about." "Tell me the truth," Alistair said, "or I will ruin you. I will make sure you never work again." The lawyer swallowed hard. Then he sighed. "Yes," he said quietly. "Lord Edmund paid me. He said it was for the good of the family, that you were making a mistake." Celestine felt her stomach twist. This man had betrayed them. He had taken their money and their trust and thrown it away. "Did you send the invitation?" Alistair asked. The lawyer shook his head. "No. That was Lord Edmund. He wanted the marriage exposed. He thought it would prove it was a sham, that you were desperate." Alistair's hands clenched into fists. "And the letter? The one that was hidden in my desk?" The lawyer hesitated. Then he nodded. "Lord Edmund wrote it. He wanted to threaten you, to make you afraid." Alistair turned to Celestine. "We have what we need," he said. They left the office. Celestine felt shaken, but also relieved. They had proof now, proof that Edmund had sabotaged them. "What do we do now?" Celestine asked. "We take this to the magistrate," Alistair said. "We show him the proof, and we make sure Edmund never threatens us again." The trial was quick. The magistrate listened to the evidence. He read the letters. He questioned the lawyer. And then he made his ruling. "The marriage between Alistair Ashford and Celestine Moore is valid," he said. "The failure to file the papers was the result of sabotage, not negligence. And Lord Edmund Ashford is hereby stripped of any claim to the title or the estate." Edmund's face turned red with rage. He stood and shouted, but the guards escorted him out. Alistair turned to Celestine. He took her hand. "It is over," he said quietly. Celestine felt tears fill her eyes. "It is over," she repeated. They walked out of the courthouse together. The sun was shining. The air was warm. Celestine felt like she could finally breathe. "What do we do now?" she asked. Alistair smiled. "We go home," he said, "and we start our life, our real life, together." Celestine smiled back. "I would like that." The months that followed were the happiest of Celestine's life. She and Alistair grew closer every day. They talked for hours. They walked the gardens. They read books together in the library. And they fell in love. It was not a sudden thing. It was slow and gentle, like a flower blooming. But it was real. One night they sat together in the library. The fire crackled. The room was warm and cozy. Alistair held Celestine's hand. "I have something to tell you," he said. Celestine looked at him. "What is it?" "I never thought I would fall in love," Alistair said. "I thought marriage was just a duty, a contract. But you have changed everything." Celestine felt her heart swell. "You have changed everything for me too," she said. Alistair leaned forward. He kissed her gently. "I love you," he whispered. "I love you too," Celestine said. They sat together for a long time, holding each other, feeling grateful for the strange, unexpected path that had brought them together. Because sometimes, love comes when you least expect it. And sometimes, the most unlikely beginnings lead to the most beautiful endings. The Dowager Duchess never apologized, but she also never returned. She lived in a small estate on the edge of the duchy, alone, bitter. Celestine felt sorry for her, but she did not reach out. Some wounds were too deep to heal. But Celestine did reach out to her father. She brought him to the estate. She showed him her new home. She introduced him to Alistair. Her father was proud. He hugged her and told her he loved her. And that was all Celestine needed. She had a family now, a real family, and she was happy. 1 year after the ball, Celestine and Alistair hosted another event. But this time, it was different. This time, Celestine was not a secret. She stood in the ballroom wearing a dress made of silver silk. Diamonds sparkled in her hair. She looked like a queen. Alistair stood beside her. He looked at her with such love that Celestine felt her heart might burst. The guests arrived. They bowed and curtsied. They called her Your Grace. And this time, Celestine believed it. She was the Duchess of Ashford. She was Alistair's wife. And she belonged. As the music began to play, Alistair took her hand. "May I have this dance?" he asked. Celestine smiled. "Always," she said. They walked onto the dance floor. The crowd parted for them. The music swelled. And as they danced, Celestine thought about the night that had changed everything. The night the Dowager Duchess had slapped her. The night someone had shouted, "How dare you touch the Duchess?" It had been the worst night of her life. And the best. Because it had led her here. To this moment. To this man. To this life. And she would not change a single thing. Later that night, after the guests had gone home, Celestine and Alistair stood on the balcony. They looked out at the stars. "Do you ever regret it?" Alistair asked. "Signing the contract, coming here?" Celestine thought about it. She thought about all the pain, all the fear, all the uncertainty. And then she thought about everything she had gained. Love, home, family. "No," she said. "I do not regret it." Alistair smiled. He pulled her close. "Neither do I," he said. They stood there together, wrapped in each other's arms. And they knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. Because they were not just husband and wife. They were partners. They were best friends. They were soulmates. And their story was just beginning. 2 years later, Celestine stood in the nursery. She held a baby in her arms, a little girl with dark hair and bright eyes. Alistair walked in. He smiled when he saw them. "How is she?" he asked. "Perfect," Celestine said. "Absolutely perfect." Alistair walked over and kissed Celestine's forehead. Then he kissed the baby's head. "She looks like you," he said. "She has your eyes," Celestine said. They stood there together, a family. Celestine thought about how far she had come. From a baker's daughter to a duchess, from a secret wife to a beloved partner. It had not been easy, but it had been worth it. Because love was always worth it. Alistair took her hand. "I love you," he said. "I love you too," Celestine said. And in that moment, Celestine knew that she had everything she had ever wanted. Not wealth, not status, but love. Real, true, unconditional love. And that was the greatest gift of all.